Yo, it's SmallmouthCrush. I'm gonna throw some jigs today. Chucking jigs around some docks for some pre-spawn largemouth. It's all coming up. Alright, so the water temps are rising, the fish are on the move. I'm going to see if they're positioned around some docks. I'm going to show you guys how I dissect different docks. And I'm going to start out flipping a jig. And if we have to, we'll resort to some finesse fishing. I really do like to finesse fish around docks as well, whether it be a drop shot or a shaky head. But today we're just going to chuck about a 1/2 ounce jig. Just a standard trailer. I'll break all that down for you guys. Let's see if we can get some fish in the boat first, and then we'll talk about the juice. Swimming with it. All right. Yeah, that's a way to start the day. So docks play a major role in bass fishing all across the country. Specific regions, however, those fish are going to set up on those docks differently. You might have a lake that's known for a really good dock bite, for a good pattern. And so when you go to these lakes, you want to do some investigating and find out, is docks an important pattern depending on the time of year, and is this something that you think you can catch fish off of? A lot of times when you run into those situations and people know that docks are getting, are really a key pattern, there's going to be a lot of pressure because it's obvious. You can visually see where it is. A Google, satellite, Google Earth will be able to show you where all the docks are on the body of water. So before you go to a new body of water, even a body of water you might be familiar with, I always recommend getting on Google Earth and just going along the shoreline and looking at many things. You always are going to pick up something and learn something new, and maybe find a little key type of structure that you want to hit, and turns out it could be really good place that holds a lot of bass. Not all docks are created equal, and it all depends on the time of year. And throw in the tides for where I fish. That's a whole nother set of variables when it comes to dock fishing that you have to be prepared for. So I do like to throw a jig around docks. It's probably the most effective way to cover water and get bites. But keep in mind, there's going to be times when you are going to have to finesse fish. There's going to be times when you can throw a spinnerbait, a crankbait, a square bill, different types of, perhaps a soft plastic that's, wacky rigged, unweighted. There's different situations that can occur. I was just flipping jigs because it was probably the easiest way to cover that water that day and try to put some fish in the boat. So one thing you want to keep in mind when you are fishing docks is sometimes it's really important to idle around, especially if it's a lake that's your home body of water and you have plenty of time and you want to learn it. I would idle, and if you have side image or 360 around those docks, see if there's any structure down there, whether it be by, just trees blowing into it or people actually putting structure on the dock, underneath the dock, just out from the dock. You're going to find that kind of stuff. And sometimes you want to use just a shaky head or maybe a football jig to drag the bottom and find out what's really down there. Find out, is this dock really something special? Because sometimes it can hold 3, 4, 5 fish and it'll keep replenishing itself. There are key docks like that on any body of water, but you have to put the time in order to find out where they are. And so a lot of times that finesse route, the shaky head, just feel what's down there. Wait until you get hung up. Drag something, maybe drag a tube around those docks. You're going to feel it. There's going to be rock. There's going to be some metal. There's going to be different things down there that you're going to want to key in on and know about. It's not as simple as just pulling up to a pile and flipping the jig to it and moving on to the next one, if you really want to learn what that dock is all about.
Get in the boat. There you go. Another creature from the dock. There you go. Dock's holding some fish. All right, one thing that I really look for, there's 3 pilings right here. It should hold a fish. Cast it right in between them. And I'll keep casting to it if I don't get a bite. I'll try to make another cast. Work around the edges of it. I know there's got to be one there. So springtime's a great time to hit docks, but these docks will actually hold fish year-round. And a lot of it's tide driven, especially here where I'm fishing on the Chesapeake, where we have tides. You know, it could fluctuate 3-4 feet. And so right now I'm finding most of the fish, because it's lower tide, they're on the outsides of the first pilings, right underneath like the main tee, the platform like that. That's where I'm finding some of these fish. But when that tide rises, they can be way up shallow as well. And a lot of these docks have rock underneath. There's a lot of stuff planted by other anglers. So there's all kinds of stuff underneath these docks. And just because I'm also catching them on the outside of these docks, that doesn't mean that I shouldn't make a couple casts towards shore, because sometimes even at low tide, or even in a body of water where you're fishing where the water's real shallow, they're still going to get back there. So you really want to poke around. I'm finding most of my bites right now, though, are coming right at the first part of the dock when I'm pulling up to it. Little guy. Great cast. Reward me with a fish. No reward? Sometimes you don't get a reward. Sometimes you don't get a reward. Oh. Okay. Just missed that fish. I'm going to throw back with a finesse because I didn't get a hook in him. See if I can get him to bite. Got him. Little guy though. Just goes to show though, I didn't want to throw back in there with a jig that he already just hit. I like to back up if I miss a fish, especially when I didn't set the hook. He just swimmed away with it. Actually grabbed the trailer off. So you can see we're getting a few, smaller males on these docks. I'm gonna keep going because you never know. You never know. We could get a big one here. It seems like it's fun. You're setting the hook. Anytime you're setting the hook, I'm in. But we need to find a big 5-pounder. Little guy. All right, today what I'm doing, I'm flipping these docks, is I'm using the Dobbins rod. This is the 784 it's called. It's a 7'8". It's a really nice rod for flipping jigs. I use this for flipping jigs, and then I also use this when I'm throwing big 1/2 ounce, 3/4 ounce, or 1 ounce spinner baits, burning it for smallmouth. It's a great rod for that as well, but it's a really good rod for flipping a jig. And I use 17-pound fluorocarbon on here. You can go to 20, 17 pretty much is what I use. It's pretty standard. All right, so I use a lot of different jigs. We're actually gonna go back in the studio and talk a little bit about that right now.
So there's all kinds of different jigs on the market. I try to keep things simple. There's a handful of companies that I really like. One being Dirty Jigs. I've used Dirty Jigs for years, and they're probably one of the best jigs on the market. If you haven't used a Dirty Jig yet, I certainly suggest you take a look at them. Their website's extremely impressive. You have all the different color choices, as well as all the different jigs that they make. They make a lot. They make jigs for every certain situation, from HP flipping jigs to the Luke Clausen casting jig. It's got a compact jig, the tour level no jack flipping, tour level pitching jig. I mean, the list goes on. And each one has a different purpose. Sometimes you want a more finesse presentation, and sometimes you're going to be in some super heavy cover, and you might even be using 50 or 65-pound braid, flipping your no jack jig underneath that dock because of the size of the fish, as well as all the junk that's down there. So each jig has its own application. So I carry a variety of those with me. I also use a lot of the Kitech jigs. To me, they're very compact. Tungsten head. It's the Model 1 casting jig. I'll typically use a 3/8 or a 1/2 ounce in those sizes, and I keep it pretty standard. The green pumpkin, black and blue. That's what I throw there. There's times I'm going to throw bitsy bugs. You can't go wrong with a bitsy bug. A little finesse jig as well. And then there's a company that I found, I believe they're on Tackle Warehouse, called Boss. All they do is they make a bunch of skirts. So you can buy all kinds of different skirts, different colors, and then pick and choose and create the type of jig that you want. Get a handful. They sell individual jig heads. So some are based on whether there's some rocks around or some grass. Depending on the jig head and how it's made is going to determine how that jig works through that cover for you. So you want to experiment with that. I get a bunch of these, and I'll just create my own jigs if I feel I don't have a color that I need with me. Swap them out as well. And of course, I keep some standard finesse jigs as well that I'm going to be throwing around docks. Trailers, we try to keep that pretty simple as well. Now in this video, I started using, if you guys seen my previous video on Z-Man products, you'll see that I started using that Z-Man, I guess it's the Bat Wings trailer. Really impressed with that trailer. I only had one bag of it. I only bought one package in green pumpkin, and then I bought one in black and blue. I use a lot of Zoom plastics. Of course, the super chunks. Items like that on the back of a jig. Your standard jig material. Rage Craws. Pack of Craws. A Smallie Beaver. Sometimes a twin-tail grub. Craw Divorce, made by Power Team Lures. Another great little trailer. So when it comes to trailers, you just want to find something you have confidence in and stick with it for the most part. Your, maybe electric blue, then a regular black and blue, a green pumpkin purple, your black and blue. Those are going to be your standard jig trailer colors.
Looks good. There's some good shade. Some stuff down there. There he is. It's a little guy. The old jig box here, that last fish that I had on, that bit, grabbed the skirt. Still got the trailer. So this is actually a Boss jig. You can buy them. What I like about this one is it's designed, it's got a flat side. It works really well for flipping docks, but also when you have docks that have a lot of rock and stuff around it, which is what I'm encountering right now. I'm going with this type of skirt. You know, it's got a little, yeah, we'll go with the one we had. It's got a little orange, green pumpkin orange. Right now, these fish are gonna be keying in on crayfish. And that's what we're trying to mimic with this jig. Not bluegills today, all about the crayfish, hanging out by these docks, hanging out around the rocks. And these fish are just gorging on it. So I just put a new skirt on there. And we'll put our trailer back on. We're good to go. Simple. Let me get that on a little bit. I like things right. If it ain't right, it ain't right, you know what I mean? One thing I know for sure, when you're fishing docks or any type of cover, and it's blowing, when you got some wind, these power poles back here are unbelievable. I would not fish without them. If you can afford them, if you're an avid fisherman, if you don't have them already, I mean, you gotta get them. They've been around forever. You guys know the importance of having them. I highly recommend them. I use them all the time, from launching a boat by myself to fishing cover, fishing docks, positioning the boat, keeping it right where it needs to be. I run the 10-foot blades, you know, 8's a pretty standard size. I really like the 10 because I do get up north a lot. I do fish a lot deeper water, and that extra 2 feet does make a difference for me. So that's why I run 10-foot blades. All right, we caught a few fish flipping a jig around the docks. What types of jigs do you guys like to throw? Specifically, flipping docks, any particular trailers you like? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And as always, until next time, we'll see you guys on the water.